is welcome. Your soul is welcome. Soul's welcome.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here.
Your soul.
My soul is welcome here. 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 I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Good morning, and your souls are indeed welcome here. Good to see you this morning. I feel the energy. I can feel the power. And we welcome you in the name of all that's good, all that is sacred, and all that is beautiful in the name of this wonderful spiritual community known as Spiritual Life Center. And this is the first time they're here with us. We know, or you're watching us through love streaming. We know that you're not here by accident, but you are here by divine appointment. And we're so glad that you kept your appointment with us today. And of course, we honor all paths to connecting with the presence of God, whether you're in a temple, a mosque, a church, amazing organizations that you may be part of, because there is no place where the presence of God is not. And so we honor you, and we honor that you've turned off your cell phones to be totally present in the moment.
And as we move into prayer, let us keep in mind that we have a lot to celebrate at Spiritual Life Center. Today we begin our 18th Faith in Action, and we celebrate we are celebrating Reverend James Trapp's 5th anniversary at Spiritual Life Center.
Thank you. It did all begin 5 years ago today for me here. Wow. Seems I've gone by very quickly, most days.
Most days. Right. So let's slow ourselves down and go into prayer. Let us now open to the activity of spirit and the awareness that within each of us is a divine spark. We offer our deep gratitude today for Reverend James Trapp, who by his steadfast vision, courage, and groundbreaking spirit creates the sacred space which allows and encourages each divine spark here to burn bright and free. May we also on this day appreciate and celebrate each other and this community. And remember that we are an outpicturing of a divine idea that has come to fruition through divine love, divine guidance, and divine grace. Thank you, Mother, Father, God, for all our blessings. Amen.
Amen. And this being the first day of October, we acknowledge all the birthdays in October. So any October birthdays, just stand and we can appreciate you, honor you, and affirm you. Now, where are we going? Let's do the kids.
Birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya.
Wednesday program this week is a guided Afro-Caribbean drumming circle with Dominic Garcia. We are going to soup this week, so it will be not soup and salad, soup and bread at 6, and the program starts at 7. And if you're looking for something slightly more contemplative on that night, I will be holding a discussion group over in the chapel, so please still come.
And today, of course, we're starting our first day of our Faith in Action series, and our study groups are going to be starting to meet beginning today based upon Gary Zukal's book, The Seat of the Soul. And if you haven't gotten the book, it's available in the courtyard, and you can also get a copy of the participants' workbook on the website, and those who are not in a group can participate as individuals and follow along with the study guide. We have weekly meditations that are on our website. They've been written and recorded by our author. And of course, Reverend Becca Costello is our webmaster, and please thank her when you see her, along with our Faith in Action champion, Tina Blakely, because without her, we wouldn't have had this program this year. So we appreciate all those who made it possible to have our program.
And join us for Stepping into the Vision, the sequel, an SLC town hall meeting, and it's today at 12:45. Our youth will offer an in-courtyard lunch so that you can enjoy nourishment before the meeting, which will inspire you into 2018 and our 20th anniversary. And hear about the exciting vision for Spiritual Life Center all the way into 2020.
All right, stepping into the future. And of course, this is a perfect time for us to thank our gala sponsors who are here. And we're going to have RJ is going to say a few words about the gala sponsors.
Hi, everyone. Hey, we're gonna thank our gala sponsors right now. And this year we had over 25 gala sponsors, and it's really a positive thing. All right. We have a wonderful poster out in our courtyard, and back in the corner, Celia Coughlin-Surge put our poster together. So thank you, Celia. All right. So at the national level, we want to thank Dr. Daniel McCrimmons. He's back there hiding in the corner. We want to thank him for being a national sponsor. We have Josie Johnson and Tom Rose were national sponsors. Thank you. And not here right now is Randy Sizemore, who does our finance, and so he's a national sponsor. Now let's thank our global sponsors. So our first global sponsor was Rachel Lyman. Rachel Lyman created the Interfaith Explorers, and her and Reverend Dave are global sponsors. She's the first person I'm mentioning, but actually our first person to sign up to be a gala sponsor was Robin. Let me just tell you a moment about Robin. Robin has sponsored 3 events this year. She sponsored our Spring Fling. She sponsored Guys with Guitars. Now she's sponsored the gala. So let's thank Robin and all our sponsors. Yay, Robin. Now, as you can see, all the lovely colors, the gala.
Come on in. Namaste. We got it right. Yeah, I'm going to move over in a minute. Okay, so we're coming on up. We wanted to just share a little bit from our youth ed department. In September, we were celebrating trees. We're actually going to be sort of continuing that tree celebration. Trees are hard to leave behind. Feel the roots of your being through your feet right now, reaching down into the ground. We are all rooted in love. And we are always reaching for the light, especially when we're mindful to do so. It doesn't have to be with your hands, just your thoughts can reach for the light, and that's how we continue to grow in love. So, in our next slide, I'm doing the Vanna thing. In our next slide, we were paying lots of attention to prayer and unity and oneness in September, and we are continuing that for October. Next slide. Oh, Cameron. Thank you. And there's Cameron. Oh, and I forgot to, because I was kind of getting everybody up here. The Lawsons, Cameron and his dad Michael, they hold beautiful space for our YOUers. So any teenagers that you know, yeah. There's another rally coming up, and they're here every Sunday. And we have so many wonderful people that are with us. Mary is with us a lot of Sundays. She's going to play recorder, so I'm not going to announce everyone. But anyway, thank you. Let's do a round of applause for all of our helpers, all of our people today. All right, and so with our trees and with our oneness awareness, we are branching into some zeal. And what does zeal say, you guys? Remember, let's say yes on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yes! We always say yes when we're talking zeal. All right, now I guess we bypassed our apple. That's okay. We'll keep moving. What's our next slide? I need a clicker. All right. A couple quick announcements before we sing with you. We have a youth ed table out there in the courtyard, and you can always stop by and see what we're up to. I do a news thingy every week, and so if you want a little e-news, you can sign up for that. Special invitation for you for Faith in Action. Every Sunday, I'm going to have little chakra stones out there. So today is the first chakra. It's the base chakra. Our color is red. I have some nice little red jasper chips. And red jasper is all about safety and groundedness on the earth. So slip one into your pocket on your way out. And we have soup. We are serving soup today. So if you're hanging out for the town hall meeting, which starts at 12:45, we got you covered. We're going to have some salad and bread, and we've got some stone soup stirring over there. And we'd love it if you would come support our program a little bit and sing with us too. We're serving soup, so here we go. We're serving soup, soup of the soul. It's spirit soup, come have a bowl. We are nursing our oneness. Our spirit soup will make us whole. We're putting faith and lots of love. And all things good that we're made of. Our spirit soup is a celebration for God's gift of life and love. We're serving soup,
We're serving soup,
soup of the soul.
soup of the soul.
It's spirit soup, come have a bowl. We are nourishing our oneness. Our spirit soup will make us whole. Story of stone soup is a far-reaching fable. It's the teamwork and the oneness of which we're able. It puts our spirit soup upon God's table. We're serving soup, soup of the soul. It's spirit soup, come have a bowl. We are nourishing our oneness. Our spirit soup will make us whole. Our spirit soup will make us whole. Thank you. Come have soup.
I don't think that song will ever be the same for me now. Soup. Oh, let's see. We want to acknowledge a couple of groups of people that have been doing wonderful work at our community, our ambassadors and our prayer chaplains. And if they would stand, and we know that the ambassadors are wearing the rainbow ribbon. And they're here to offer a very warm welcome to members of our community, those who are new here, to answer questions you may have about our programs and activities and classes. And the chaplains are doing the very important work of holding the prayer consciousness. No matter what we're going through in our life or growing through, they hold the highest and best for us. And so we know that they're wearing the white stoles, and they'll be available to you after the service here in the sanctuary or in the courtyard as well. So we acknowledge you and appreciate you for what you provide to our community.
If you're here the first time, we're going to ask you to raise your hand in just a minute. But now we really want you to know about the opportunities that we have for you to get connected here at SLC. If you fill out the welcome card that you will be given, please drop it in the offering basket or take it directly to the welcome table, which is just outside the door. And they have some pretty cool gifts for you.
And if you are here for the very first time, any first timers here today, just raise your hand. Thank you. Just keep them up nice and high. And we have the ushers and greeters are going to give you some information. And one of the things we're going to give you today is a chalet. And we ask you to wear that to get your special Spiritual Life Center greeting from our members of our community. And the chalet has a tag on it. And it says, we believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And there are many paths to the one God. And we thank you for joining us on your path with us today. And we just invite us to greet our newcomers and to greet each other and just say you are magnificent and appreciate you being here today.
Oh, that's some wonderful energy there. Okay, so for those of you who are experiencing, everybody's having so much fun saying hi. Oh, I remember every day, all day there's opportunity. Every day, all day there's opportunity. Every day, all day I look beyond what I see. Every day, all day I look beyond what I see. Every day, all day I can make a choice. Every day, all day I can make a choice. Every day, all day search and find my voice. Every day, all day search and find my voice. Every day, all day I listen to my heart. Every day, all day I listen to my heart. Every day, all day I step out and do my part. Every day, all day step out and do my part. Every day I make us stand for peace. Every day, all day I make us stand for peace. Every day I feel my joy increase. Every day I feel my joy increase. Every day I check my attitude. Every day I check my attitude. Every day expressing gratitude. Every day all day expressing gratitude. Every day all day I give up the fight. Every day all day I give up the fight. Every day all day I am shaping the light. Every day all day I am shaping the light. Every day all day reach for the highest heights. Every day all day reach for the highest heights. Every day all day opportunity. Every day all day opportunity. Every day all day I remember. 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 All right. Now let's just take a nice deep breath together. Begin to prepare ourselves for meditation. let's ensoul these words as we speak together. Our vision statement. Spiritual Life Center is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And we know that all is as it should be.
As we move into this time of meditation, let's breathe together. Feel the vibration of that beautiful chant that permeates this room. Breathe that in deep into your belly. Each breath softening. Each breath relaxing your body, quieting your mind, and opening your heart. Your beautiful heart. That beautiful heart space in the center of your chest, expanding with each breath. Our hearts are the portal to our soul. Feel what awaits you there in all its glory. This love, this is what you really are. The aliveness within you, within every cell of your being. When we know the truth of our being, we know it within all of creation. When I was ordained John Mundy spoke at our ordination. And he spoke of what it meant to be a reverend. He told us that being a reverend had nothing to do with us being revered, but rather us making a commitment to revere all of life, to see beyond the physical, and to honor the divinity within all. Presence meeting presence. We are all ministers of God. You too are a reverend of God, here to minister to the human heart, and to bring God's light into all of life. This wonderful life that shows up exactly how we need it, to fully awaken to that truth within us. When we trust God within our own being, this is how we change the world. By loving it, all of it. So here we are, God. Use us to shine your light into this wonderful world. Thank you, God. Amen.
I see trees that are green, red roses too. I'll watch them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I hear babies cry, watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are but also the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? But they're really saying is I love you. These trees are green, red roses too. I see 'em bloom for me and for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful
Oh, thank you so much. It is a wonderful world in so many different ways. And as you know, in our Faith in Action series, we always have our artists to give us a artistic representation of the theme of the week or themes of the series. And we have two magnificent artists today. We have Wanda McGuire as well as Dave Lyman, and they're going to share their artistic work. And I'm going to share what they wrote about it so we have a better understanding of their insights on the topic that their art represents. So I'm going to start out with Wanda McGuire, and the title of her piece is Becoming. And she writes, our 5-sensory life, represented by the caterpillar, is limited to experiencing karma thorns, seeking power and feeling vulnerability. We wear the garment of fear, for we find only suffering. While in search of authentic power, we leave behind exploration with only its 5 senses and enter into a multi-sensory state that is represented by the chrysalis. Finding its ever-present intuition, our soul now moves into its true multi-sensory power, now being filled with loving kindness, reverence, and wisdom, never to feel alone again. Becoming the authentic empowerment of spirit, fulfilling our true purpose, we take flight as the butterfly. So that's Wanda's Becoming. And Reverend Dave's piece entitled Seat of the Soul, the name of our book. And he says, this photo demonstrates moving into multi-sensory perception, a part of the new humanity. The challenging part is relating to our physical body. The body is our pathway to authentic power, yet at the same time, our resistance to the next level. Each of us can step into the experience of another. Notice the person pushing the wheelchair. And in doing, we push karma to the next level. Lighting from the windows hint at the deeper essence instead of the outer shell of appearance. We can each step into the higher order where heart is light, where there is none. In doing so, we too can emerge into the light of the divine. David Lyman's Seat of the Soul. All righty. Thank you so much. I'm always saying that between the music and the art and the meditation, we could probably just end right here and take the offering, but they put me in the program, so I'll say a few words today. Our first week of Faith in Action, 2017. As I always like to say when we think of the word faith, we toss that around quite a bit, and it has many meanings. You know, many people believe that to have faith is to have faith in something outside of us, to have faith in what something we call God. And if we have enough faith in God, God will somehow show up and answer our prayers, solve our problems, maybe even meet the needs that we have in our life. And if we're faithful enough, maybe, we'll be considered good enough, worthy enough that God will somehow have any reference point. It is unprecedented. And oftentimes we have to realize that faith in life has nothing to do with how it looks like right now. And so in this Faith in Action series based upon The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov, he's really talking about going beyond our five senses about what we can see and going into the multi-sensory aspect of us that is beyond how we see things from our three-dimensional point of view. You know, in the opening of the book, Oprah Winfrey says that when she read that book back in the 90s, and this is the 25th or 26th anniversary, it changed the whole directory and trajectory of her program, because she had a whole different intention. And she was the one who brought spirituality and made it vogue for daytime television, which at that time was unheard of. It would have considered something that the powers to be would never consider to be successful. I just remember around that time, I think that's when reality TV shows started coming into play. And I recall that I was in ministerial school at the time, and I didn't have a television, so I wasn't watching all of this stuff. And I went to the barbershop one day, they had the TV on, and I was watching one of these shows. I think it was Jerry Springer or something like that. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And now that's mild compared to what we see today, you know? So she ushered in something entirely different. And the essence of Gary Zukov's work is the idea of returning to our authentic power. It happens when our personality, which is that part which is changeable, that may be one way today and a different way tomorrow, may show up depending upon who we face in a different perspective. But he's talking about really getting our personality to be in full service to our soul, which is our true sense of being. And I asked myself, what is that? People ask, what is the soul? We have a lot of different names depending upon the spiritual perspective one comes from. But he gave an analogy as to what that means. And he broke down what was seemingly complex into a simple way of comparing soul to this story. And he said, imagine that there are a fleet of ships, and they've all set sail. And of course, part of this fleet is the mothership. And it's the mothership that knows where all the other ships are going. It sets the direction for all the other ships. And of course, the mothership doesn't determine exactly what all the other ships do, because the mothership happens to be up front, has to be able to see everything ahead of time. But each ship can have a pleasant experience or an unpleasant experience. And he says, imagine the mothership is the biggest ship, the city afloat. It is magnificent. It is beautiful. And all the rest of the ships are really like little boats. And he says that the mothership is like our soul. And we're one of the boats. The mothership knows why we are in the water. And we may not know all the time how things are going to unfold. But the mothership knows when storms are about to be coming before us. And our job is to have the awesome privilege, being the little boat, to learn how to sail in the same direction as the mothership. And of course, we have the power of choice. We don't necessarily have to follow the mothership. We can go in the absolute opposite direction. But that's a sure way to run into rough waters. But as we sail in the direction of the mothership fills our life with meaning, purpose, and love. And when we begin to follow that, our whole life is like being alive. And we're saying every day, life, you gotta love it. We're excited about the people that we're with. We're excited about what we're doing. We're excited about how we're following this mothership. And of course, every analogy at some point breaks down. You can say, well, the mothership seems to be separated from us. How does our soul is not separated from us? Well, it's an analogy, trying to explain the inexplicable that's beyond our human understanding. But the whole idea is that we want to get in tune with that soul of us, that the part of us that's never been born and can never die. It was here before we took this incarnation. It'll be here after we shuffle off the mortal coil. And of course, that's different from our personality, that which we're born into, that which we learn things from the outside world, that which picks up the cynicism and the fear and the doubt and the judgmentalism. But our purpose in life is to align with that mothership, to move closer through love and further away from fear. Because as we know, there's only really two ways to approach life, is love or fear. And of course, that's determined by our intention. And we can infuse ourselves with an us versus them consciousness of anger, resentment, manipulation, control, materialism, or infuse it with loving intention. The personality of us can be loving and compassionate, but it's not the originator of all the qualities of this experience we call love. It's not the originator of that. It comes from the soul of us. And it gives us an opportunity to look at life from one or two perspectives. Because everything in life is either to be enjoyed or everything in life is to be learned from. And that moves our soul forward. I think I was sharing with my son, he was having a very philosophical conversation about, the purpose of life and how oftentimes we come into life. And we don't really know, what is the purpose of life? I don't think I was having those kind of questions when I was 18, but it's a whole new generation coming up now, thank God. But I think he concluded, that we're here to enjoy it, have fun with it, help others to do the same, and express a sense of compassion to those around us. And if we do that, we've lived a fulfilling life. And so in his text, Gary Zukav talks about getting our authentic power back. Power that does not come from the external world. Power does not come from trying to control what's going on. But power that comes from aligning our personality with the mothership. And he talks about the idea that we can look at life and all the different vehicles for us to grow and unfold. And one of the things he talks about is the idea of karma. Sometimes our personality doesn't believe that there's anything more than what we can see. And of course, this sense of karma applies to many lifetimes. I remember I was in ministerial school and, we were talking and having this conversation, debate, discussions about karma and reincarnation and things like that. And, one of my instructors said, I didn't believe in reincarnation in my last lifetime. And I don't believe in it in this lifetime either. But as I talk with people over the years, I've learned that there are dimensions of reality that are beyond what we normally experience in our day-to-day life. And I won't go into all of them, but just the idea, I was speaking to a guy, he was a Santeria priest. It comes from, Cuba and the kind of mixed Afro-Caribbean, religion with Catholicism. And he was able to say stuff of a homeless gentleman, $100, and then video see what he was going to do. Now, I don't know if some of these videos are true or not today with so much, quote, fake news, but I thought it was a good story anyway. And so he found a guy and he gave him the $100 bill, and he was, videoing him and seeing what was he going to do with it. And so he took the $100 and he went to a liquor store. And this guy was having judgment already. Okay, he's going to misuse the money, blah, blah, blah. And he came out with 2 big bags that he had shopped with. And he continued to follow him, and he ended up going to a park. And there were a number of other homeless people there. And he reached into the bag, and he started feeding everybody that was around him. You see, he had a different intention than what the personality of the videographer was having. But the story didn't stop there. And eventually this video went viral. And people from all over the world started sending this gentleman who didn't have anything, and he ended up getting like $135,000. Simply because he set an intention to give out with no expectation of return, but he got a great return anyway. But sometimes we have bad karma, problematic karma, based upon the intentions that we put out. And Gary Zugoff says that every cause that has not yet produced an effect is simply an event that has not yet come to completion. So sometimes folks, that's why sometimes people ask me, well, how can be so-and-so who seem to be doing all these bad things and nothing happens to them? Well, the reality is that we don't see the whole picture. There is an imbalance in the universe that's going to be brought back in balance at some point or another. And this came up, around a conversation I was having about, kneeling at the football games. I don't know if you follow the news. Sometimes I get caught up in the news, Don't do that too often. You have to really be a professional to deal with all the stuff that be bombarding you all the time. It'll just be overwhelming. And I say, oh my God, I can't take it every day. I have to put the cover over my head. It's too much. So be prayed up first. And, some folks have been asking me, I've been talking to some friends, and they were asking about the whole thing and the kneeling phenomenon. And I'm going to talk about the karma that some of this has reflected, but I'm going to talk about just the event itself. Because what I realized is that we have individuals with two different perspectives of the event. There are those who were kneeling because they were seeking to bring a cause that they thought was very important to their community, where certain individuals were being killed and shot in their communities. And then there were those who were seeing the event as somehow dishonoring the anthem, dishonoring the flag. Because I've done, memorials for veterans, and the flag is very, very sacred for those individuals. But I came to the realization that everybody's seeing it from their own perspective. And we may believe that the difference is irreconcilable. But maybe we create a false sense of separation between people. Thich Nhat Hanh said something to the effect, and he's a Buddhist monk and peace activist, that we're here to awaken from the illusion of separation. And as we grow spiritually, we can do that. And we ask, how can we do that in this situation? And that's why St. Francis of Assisi, who wrote his peace prayer, said in part that we're here not so much to seek to be understood, but to understand. We have to be willing to maybe step off our own position and see things from a wider perspective, a wider purview, in order to have meaningful conversations that can lead to a healing of a nation, a healing of a community. It's an opportunity to learn. So I think we're here to look for the evidence of the good so we can realize our oneness. And part of it means that we have to step off of our attachments to how we see things and realize that those attachments are things that create that wall of separation. I shared, the idea of attachments about the time that there was a monk who was asked a question. And the person asked a pretty profound question. The monk said, I really don't have the answer to this. I need to go back and talk to some of my teachers, and I will email you the answer. And the person that asked the question asked, oh, I didn't know that monks could email. I didn't know that was permitted. And he said, it's no problem for us to email as long as there are no attachments. I know, boy. I know that's corny, but you'll remember it. But I digress from the karmic effect. I started to talk about, as you know, it started out with Colin Kaepernick, who was a former quarterback of the 49ers. And he started kneeling to bring attention to the cause that he found dear to him, and he did so at the suggestion of a friend who happened to be a veteran who felt it would be better for him not to sit but to kneel. And there's no right or wrong regarding this perspective. And I thought about the statement that Gary Zukav made that said every cause that has not yet produced an effect is an event that has not yet come to completion. And I tried to look at this from a multiples perspective, because there's a statement by Thomas Jefferson, one of the founders of the United States, of the Constitution, that said, "I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and justice cannot sleep forever." You know, there's been a fault line of separation that originates from America's original transgression of slavery. And it remains to be healed on a collective level, a collective soul healing. And because that fault line exists, you know, we've been reading about, you know, how Russia's been interfering with the election that we had last year. But what they really began to do more than that, they started creating fake news to create a sense of division between people in the United States of America, and they began targeting other folks over and over again to create that racial divide. And so they were taking advantage of an effect that had not yet been completed. And maybe it's an opportunity that this is coming up in order to be healed so we can reclaim our authentic power that we are one in the Spirit. Because we can interrupt a karmic effect by creating a new intention in the moment. An intention that originates in love and compassion and reconciliation rather than a belief in separation and otherness. And that will bring us closer in alignment with the mothership, with the soul. Of course, the universe does not judge about this at all. You know, the law of karma is about balancing of energy. And Zugoff poses a question, well, if we don't judge, how can we have justice when we see others doing other people harm? And he brought up the story of Mahatma Gandhi, who was beaten several times in his life. And he nearly died a couple times as well. But he refused to prosecute his attackers because he saw that what they were doing, they thought they were right. And to help us grow in a way that we never would have grown without it. And so he said, if you look at it from the personality, you'll just say, well, Baby Ryan just lived a few days and he encountered tragic circumstances and then he died. And you hold the anguish. But if we look at Ryan as a soul, like everyone else on the earth, anyone who has left the earth, they left and chose to do so at that particular time. And if we look at it from a higher perspective, we can realize that there's a lesson in there for everyone to help their soul grow. Because if not, we'll look at it from a sense of anguish. And the tragedy that occurred will be seen from the perspective so that the mother and the father will look at the other son, and as he's growing up, they will say something to the effect, oh, Ryan should be here. Or when the other son graduates from high school, they'll say, well, Ryan should have graduated with him. Or when the other son finds a wife, they will say, well, Ryan should be getting married too. And through all this time, they will be imposing on the son a burden to carry, because no matter what he does or how successful he is, it may be looked at from the perspective causing pain to the mother and the father. But if we look at Ryan as a great soul who voluntarily entered into this earth school and voluntarily left in order to be with you, we could see that his presence was a gift while he was here. And we can appreciate and be grateful for the power of the interaction that he had while he was here. And that you had with that great soul that interaction. And you were able to receive a gift that the soul was able to provide for you during that time. That he gave that gift to that mother, that father, and everyone else. And if we do not allow that to happen, we'll be turning away the gift of wisdom and compassion that was offered by this soul. And as he was interacting with that mother and that father, and really trying to get them to see it from a totally different perspective, it had an impact on the entire audience that particular day. And everyone felt baby Ryan's soul's presence. He was only there for 4 days. but his soul had an impact on the people there and everyone who heard that story in that moment. So his soul lived on and helped them raise their own awareness to a higher point of view. His soul impacted them. And if we limit our experience only to that which we can see, to the five senses, to what is happening on a three-dimensional world, we miss the essence of the power of the soul. And if we take in that story, we can feel his essence now, even though we did not even know him. I think when we're authentically empowered, we realize we'll have disappointment in the human plane. But every disappointment on the human plane can be a soul appointment for us, waiting to see who and what we really are, that is not limited to what's happening in this day-to-day life. When we see in our life where people fail us, we realize that we can trust in God, trust in this soul force, and we still can love humanity anyway. When circumstances in our life fail us, we can say that, yes, we can still trust in God and love life along the way because there's something there for us to enjoy or to learn from. And when we begin to look at life from that perspective, that soul perspective, no matter what we're going through or no matter what we're growing through, we got to say, life, you got to love it. There's something for us to help us become what we're here to become, the full expression of the presence of God, an enlightened soul on the earth, to transform not only our lives, but the very planet in which we live, so we can see what God sees when we are at our highest and our best. I think that's God calling and letting me know it's time to end. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And as we do at every Faith in Action, we have an affirmation that we read together, and it will be overhead in just a moment. And as it comes up, let's read it together. It's also in your bulletin if you cannot see it, the television screen. But let's say these words together. I set my intention to see everyone and everything with reverence, responding to each encounter with loving kindness. We take those words into our life throughout this week. And in this moment, we prepare our gifts, our tithes, our love offerings, knowing that it will bless the givers as well as the receivers. And if you've given any kind of way, electronically or by mail, that know that you're in the flow of an unchanging principle of this universe of giving and receiving that says that whatever you give out comes back to you in ways you never imagined. That'll support this community, change lives, and make a difference. And with that, let's say our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
So, as Deborah mentioned earlier, we're commemorating James' 5-year anniversary today, so we put together a little something up on the screen that you can enjoy while we sing this song.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind, wanting to start again? Do you ever feel so paper thin, like a house of cards, one blow from caving in? Do you ever feel already buried deep, 6 feet under screams when no one seems to hear a thing? Do you know that there's still a chance for you, 'cause there's a spark in you? You just gotta ignite the light and let it shine. Just own the night like the 4th show them what you're worth. Make them go, oh, 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 as you shoot across the sky, sky, sky. Baby, you're a firework. Come on, let your colors burst. Make them go, oh, oh, oh. You're gonna leave them all in awe, oh, oh. You don't have to feel like a wasted space. You're original, you cannot be replaced. If you only knew what the future holds. After a hurricane comes a rainbow. Maybe a reason why all the doors were closed, so one could open that leads you to the perfect road. Like a lightning bolt, your heart will glow, and when it's time you'll know. You just gotta ignite the light and let it shine. Just open the night.
The first service, so I think I can handle it now without getting all emotional about this experience. But it's been a wonderful 5 years. Most of the times it feels like it was just yesterday. A few times it feels like it's a lot longer, but but that's life. But I thank those who have been part of this community. We're on this road of really making a difference in our lives and ultimately our world. We're up to big stuff, so thank you all for everything and being on the team with me and being part of it. And with that, let's bless the tithes, the offerings, knowing they're going to bless all of us. And we thank the ushers and for collecting the funds so that we can continue this work as we go and multiply the all good that we're here to do, coming from the soul of us, the love of us, the compassion of us, the truth about us, so we can anchor that on our earth in the highest and best way. Amen. And with that, let's sing our peace song.